haunted truck. The 1971 Kenworth Cabover was part of a small fleet of 7 based out of Denver, Colorado. It was painted metallic green with white stripes and aluminum wheels and air conditioning. It was better than most trucks on the road, and the driver was a man called Adron, who was a World War II veteran. When trucking company owners handed him the keys, they said, "She was yours to drive for all the years you have given us." Adron really looked after the truck and kept her polished and washed. She was the envy at his favourite truck stops. The truck ran flawlessly and was regularly seen on Interstate 180 between Denver and Chicago hauling meat. One day, Adron missed his morning check call. By the evening check call, Sally told all the drivers to look for Adron, as he seemed to be missing. He was found the following morning in North Platte, Nebraska, dead in his sleeper from an apparent heart attack. The truck owners, John and Sally, were grief-stricken at the loss of their friend and gave him a fitting funeral. After the funeral, John parked the truck out back because he did not want anyone else to drive it. By the winter of 1971, John and Sally realised they could not afford to keep a $35,000 truck sitting idle any longer. At the same time, a man called Dave walked into the office. Dave was working for another company down the road and saw the Kenworth Cabover sitting out the back and thought he would ask about a job driving it. Initially, John asked some other drivers in his employment whether they wanted to drive Adron's truck, and when they showed no interest, he offered the truck to Dave, who was excited at the prospect of driving it. John told Dave that a man had died in the sleeper in the truck, but Dave was not at all superstitious like the other drivers and was not overly concerned. Dave took good care of the truck and nicknamed it Babe. But strange things were about to happen as the weather got colder. One extremely cold morning in January of 1972, Dave showed up at work for his run at 2 a.m. and was surprised to find the truck idling in the parking lot, warmed up and ready to go. He made his way to the office to check in and told Sally to thank whoever had started the truck and warmed it up for him. Sally called out to her husband and the mechanic to thank them from Dave, but they had no idea what she was talking about. The following week, the same thing happened again, but on this occasion, Dave did not have to leave until 8 a.m. He again went to the workshop and thanked the mechanic for warming up his truck, but the mechanic said it must have been someone else. By now, word had got around where everyone was asking the question, who the hell was starting the truck? This would happen again and again where the truck was being started, but instead of being pleased, he now became annoyed as he believed that one of the other drivers was playing a joke on him, getting him to believe it was haunted. Not wishing to be the brunt of somebody's joke, he left a note on the notice board warning everyone that he would eventually find out who it was, so the culprit should come forward and admit that they were playing a prank on him. But the mystery went to another level when the truck began starting at truck stops hundreds of miles from home. The owner, John, took the truck to Kenworth to get their mechanics to check it over, but they found no problems. On his next run, Dave was assigned to take a load to Rapid City in South Dakota, which was to leave on June 9, 1972, to be delivered at 2 a.m. on June 10. Dave left Denver early on the 9th so he could take his time, but by the time he got into northeast Wyoming at the junction of Highways 18 and 85, there were torrential rainstorms. So Dave decided to pull Babe off to the side of the road and have a break and take a nap, then get up about midnight to go the rest of the way to Rapid City, figuring the weather would have calmed down by then, so he set his alarm for the allotted hour. But the alarm failed to go off and he woke up late at 1 a.m. He quickly jumped out of the sleeper cabin and into the driver's seat and attempted to start Babe, but the engine was dead. He was annoyed knowing that he was going to be late for the delivery and would miss his backhaul. A backhaul is when a truck picks up a load or items to transport on its return trip, rather than driving back empty. He tried frantically to start the truck, but without luck. He knew there was a ranch about a mile away, but decided to wait until daylight before trying to find it. At around 6 a.m., he walked to the ranch to ask if he could use their phone to call Sally, and when she found out it was him, she started crying. When he asked her what was wrong, she said, "We thought we'd lost you." She then handed the phone to John, who told him the bad news. He said, from what they had heard, Rapid City was wiped out last night when a dam burst. On June 9, 1972, the Canyon Lake Dam in Rapid City, South Dakota, failed due to torrential rain, causing a devastating flash flood that resulted in many deaths and massive destruction. The dam's spillway clogged with debris, leading to the dam overtopping and failing, sending a surge of water into the city with little warning. This event remains one of the deadliest dam failures in US history. Dave was in total shock. John told him he would try to get help to him as soon as he could, and meanwhile the rancher gave Dave a ride back to the truck. He told Dave that he knew a thing or two about trucks and said, "Why don't you try to start it again while I have a look at her?" As Dave jumped into the seat and turned the key, the truck roared back to life like nothing was wrong. It was at this stage that Dave's skepticism was put to the test, and he just went numb, realizing that if his alarm clock had gone off like it should have and the engine had started, he would certainly be dead. The Rapid City flood took 238 lives that morning, but for some reason, it seemed Babe had kept the death toll from being 239. The truck ran flawlessly for the next 4 years. When the owners John and Sally told Dave it was time to trade her in, Dave refused to part with it and said, "Name your price," and he bought her that day. Many later years, Babe ended up in Dave's back lot and was now tired and old. He said he would never sell Babe and they would have to bury him in the old truck. Ghostly figure. Back in early autumn in 2008, Dan Kopech and his wife were making a trip to southwest Michigan to visit friends. They lived about 20 minutes north of South Bend, Indiana, which is an extremely remote and sparsely populated area. Their friends lived on a dark road that, a mile or so beyond their house, turns into a gravel drive. Dan and his wife live in Ohio and both work full-time, so by the time they arrived in southwest Michigan, it was very dark. It was a trip they'd made many times, but on this particular night, things took a strange turn. The road was full of blind turns, thick woods, and wild animals, but mainly deer. So that night they drove cautiously and were on the lookout for deer that might dart out in front of the car. But what made things more difficult was the fog that sat floating above the road. As they drew closer to their friend's house, and out of the corner of his eye, he noticed what appeared to be a man standing in the grass. He was just standing still and staring out onto the road. He was dressed in a flannel shirt and overalls, but he could not see the lower part of his body below his knees, and he did not look fully solid and had a hazy white look about him. As he drove by, there was total silence in the car. After a few seconds, he turned to his wife to ask her if she had seen anything, and when he looked into her eyes and saw the expression on her face, he knew she had also seen the ghostly figure. They could not explain what they had just seen, but knew that it was something paranormal. That area of Michigan had lots of bogs and wetlands, and the Mud Lake Bog Nature Preserve was extremely close to where they saw the man. Dan had heard that bodies of water and moisture in the air helped enhance paranormal activity. From there on, every time that they'd driven past that spot on the road, They had the same tingly sensation they felt the night when they saw the ghostly man in overalls that appeared in the grass without any legs.